Commence primary ignition.
This is the way. I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
What is up, all of you Ugnaughts and Jawas out there, and welcome back to yet again another episode of the Book of Boba Fett after show presented by the boys of Mando Talk. And joining me, first of all, I am Caleb Keller, but joining me is the second boy, but he's first in your hearts, DJ Foster at Rebel Scum Texan. What's up, man?
Number one on the field and number one in your heart. If somebody can tell me what movie I just referenced, drop it in the comments. That's your trivia for this evening. I'm doing great. I'm glad everybody is. We're going to have some people probably slowly join us this evening, but it's always a good time to talk some spoilers from our episode of Book of Boba Fett and see how horribly wrong our predictions were from Tuesday in some cases. I know me, I've got a solid 50% that I'm rocking. And look at this. Straight here from my own cantina. I have flautas delivered by my wife just now. Yeah.
Nice.
So that's what we're rocking tonight. That's what we got today. We got some flautas.
Well,
anyway,
there was one thing that I wanted to say here before we got going. I just realized before we went live, we hit 140 subscribers here on YouTube. Now, for some reason, that number looked and sounded good, so I did like a quick Google search of 140 Star Wars. I wanted to see if there was something out there that was significant for Star Wars in that number of 140. Couldn't really find anything except that Chirrut, the character from Rogue One, his his Funko Pop bobblehead number is 140. So we have hit Chirrut's bobblehead number of subscribers. Let's keep growing, though. Let's keep going.
I love that.
So if you have
hilarious.
If you have not hit that subscribe button, make sure that you smash that. We would greatly appreciate it. But listen, we are ready, and I see the people are coming in, and I'm hyped. We got Rafa says, "Hi guys, the best bounty hunters team. Appreciate that." Zach, what's up, Zach? It's been a minute, man. He said, finally, a really good episode of Boba. There's a lot of people that feel that way. Blue Harvest Brick says, "Hey, Mando Talkers." And Miss Sunflower is also here. We got a lot of action going, so thank you so much. And hey, tell a friend to tell a friend. Send a link real quick. Say, hey, if you've been watching Book of Boba, come hang out with me in the chat. These guys have a lot of fun. That's all we do here. But let's go ahead. It's time. It's the after show. It's time to talk some spoilers. But, I feel like I did this last week too. I don't like tooting my own horn, but let's revisit the predictions that we made on Tuesday, shall we? And I'll just go ahead and say the things that I got correct, and then I'll pass it to DJ for you to get correct. And this is, and we're going to brag. We're going to brag. This is a reason for you to be here on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time for our predictions. First prediction from me: Boba Fett will be seen hunting down and destroying the Kentan Strider's biker gang. Check. Number 2, Boba Fett comes across Fennec Shan in the sands of Tatooine. Come on, let's go. That was
I still can't believe you got that
perfectly. Number 3, Boba Fett retrieves his ship from Jabba's palace. Number 4 was a big miss, though. Lorthapil reports to the Mayor Pikes regarding Boba threatening him. We could potentially see that still. Definitely not in Chapter 4, though. Number 5, Boba Fett is training with the Rancor and is given a name, and the tease of Boba beginning to ride the Rancor is made. Definitely didn't get that, but we did get a cool little tease of that Rancor. That is one thing I was very shocked by, that we didn't get any Rancor kind of moments. But we'll continue on. Number 6, and the final one, the crime bosses are welcomed inside Boba's palace for a meal. Guys, we did pretty good. Come on. But DJ, you even did pretty good too. What was yours?
I didn't do too bad. Well, I got a solid 50% on this. So that's a failing grade, but I'll take 3 out of 6 any day on just a pure guess.
Absolutely.
So I got, me and you had a couple things that were the same. The dinner with the crime lords happened. I guessed that one would take place. And I also thought Boba was going to seek revenge on the Kentan Strider biker gang, which he did. and in a glorious fashion, I might add. And speaking of what he did with a glorious fashion, flying his ship, I was ready to see the fire spray come down, and Boba Fett, he did it. He 100% sprayed fire like a daggum dragon. It was like Smaug hitting the people of Lake Town and the Hobbit. I mean, ooh, it was good stuff. Quick Lord of the Rings related plug. If you guys haven't checked it out, I did a trailer reaction to the new Lord of the Rings TV series called The Rings of Power. So go check out that after you're done watching the live stream this evening. So anyway, I got all those right. The things I got wrong was the Pikes having a greater presence. Boba will begin riding the Rancor. Nope. And the Pikes set up the Kenton Strider biker gang. Not in this episode. It could have happened maybe. We'll see. We've still got 3 episodes left before this is over. We
got 3 more. There's
a lot of stuff that can happen.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff.
I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of predictions for Chapter 5 next week. So again, just make sure that you're here. And shout out to Tim. Shout out to Timothy, who have just arrived to the chat. Appreciate you being here. What up, Tim?
Tim's a good friend of mine.
Yeah. Okay.
Tim
sweet.
actually co-admins a group with me on Facebook called Rebel Alliance Theological Seminary. So lots of good Star Wars memes over there. So howdy, Tim. Good to see you.
Well, listen, all the folks that are there in the chat, do us a favor. Let us know what you thought of Chapter 4 of the Book of Boba Fett as we run through this. You know how we do it here. We go linearly to make sure that we don't miss anything. We pause, we stop, we talk about things that need to be discussed about. We pause, we stop to discuss the things that you guys bring up in the chat. So let's bring the energy on this week's after show. I cannot wait to get to the moment at the very end. And if you're here, you know what that moment is. We're Mando Talk, and we're putting the Mando back in the Mando Talk, and I cannot wait. And I can't wait to get to that moment of this episode. But let's kick off the episode like we always do with our opener, kind of the opening moments that we get from this episode. And, well, actually, no, I lied. I got to tell you first, The Gathering Storm, that was the title. It was not boots on the ground as DJ predicted, but we didn't include that on the list. That wasn't one to take seriously.
What are you gonna do?
Director Kevin Tancharoen, something like that. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
No idea.
Thank you, Kevin. You did great. And then 3,
Absolutely.
The writer on every single chapter so far has been the man himself, Jon Favreau. DJ, like I do every week, thoughts on the title of The Gathering Storm?
It's a great title, perfect title. I mean, it's exactly what you would think from the episode. If you've seen it, you know the order of events, how everything went down. It makes sense that there is a storm a brewing, as there's a storm a brewing, as I like to say. So, yeah, I don't think I've ever said that on Mando Talk, but I do say it in my personal life quite often. But anyway, the Gathering Storm, he is gathering something, and it definitely didn't go the way I thought it was going to happen. So, but it's still neat that it did. And now we have my sister Savannah has shown up in the chat saying, listening to us in the car while getting a milkshake.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, in like an hour, can you bring me one? That'd be great. Thanks.
There you go. There you go. Hey,
what are siblings
you can
for
deliver
if you can't
one to me
request a
too.
milkshake?
You can deliver one to me too.
Don't make her say not drive to Tennessee. She'll head up to Nashville real quick.
Hey,
she would
Nashville
love
is a
nothing
hopping
more.
city, man. We got the Tennessee Titans about to get that dub this weekend. Let's go. Let's go. Anyway,
it's still kind of a hard pill to swallow over here, man. With the Cowboys. Makes me sad.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
Let's bring the energy back up, though. Come on.
Let's get back to Book of Boba. Let's get back to Book of Boba. Okay, so those are DJ's thoughts on the title, and I always like, passing it to him to share those. Let's get into the content, shall we? The opener, which is just straight up a flashback. I believe that is kind of a sidebar prediction that we had kind of discussed about the episode actually starting with a flashback, and we get Boba traveling by Bantha, where he goes to Jabba's palace to scout out the security with interest to retrieve his fire sprayer. Now, Boba is having a fireside meal with his Bantha, and suddenly we get these flashes in the night sky, which as soon as I saw this, I thought, oh, that's the episode where Mando and poor man's Han Solo, I can't remember his name because that's how poor man's Han Solo he is,
Yes.
are attacking after or going after Fennec Shand. And then we get the moment of Boba approaching and rescuing and getting Fennec Shand that was, and I put this in the notes, left for dead on the sands of Tatooine. I think it's extremely cool, the storytelling parallel that's going on with these two characters.
Yes.
Boba was rescued by the Tuskens. Boba became a Tusken. Boba saved Fennec like a Tusken. Like, it's beautiful. Beautiful storytelling there.
It's like poetry.
It rhymes. What did you think of the opener?
I got to be honest with you. This is not what I expected. I mean, I definitely thought it would open on the crime boss dinner, and I'm glad it didn't in retrospect. But I also wasn't 100% sure if we would get this Fennec Shand tie-in as far as where it got into. It just I mean, I didn't want to believe it would happen because I thought, really, what's the point? They mentioned it off screen. Do we really need to see it on screen? Now that we have seen it on screen, it's really nice, very similar in parallel to Han meeting Chewie in Solo, a Star Wars story. Very, like, you kind of like, maybe if we'd have gone another 20 years, we would have wondered, how did Fennec and Boba actually get together? You know, and now we don't have to worry about that. We only had to wait a week, basically. So it's nice that that's kind of the case. I loved this opening. I thought everything going on with him trying to scout out, you know, as you have this image on our screens right now, this him scouting out the palace and trying to figure out how he's going to get into Jabba's garage. It's awesome to me. You know, I love this whole opening. I thought it was great. Made me want to go camping, actually. It really made me want to go camping. I'll be honest with you.
I love a good camp. And we got a couple fireside little meals. Yeah, I got those vibes. I feel that.
Yeah, it was good. It was cool. I loved it. I don't know where they're getting all the wood, though, for these fires on a sandy planet, but we'll cross that bridge another day, I suppose.
You broke the episode. Here we go.
Well, I'm sorry. I mean, excuse me for having questions.
All right. So opener, thought it was great. I mean, for me, because I knew I made that prediction, I stood up. I got pumped. Like, I was like, let's go. And I knew at that moment, too, that I knew this chapter was going to be a good one and a very satisfying one from that moment. So I was just grinning ear to ear after that. So after we get through that opener, Boba then takes Fennec to be mechanically healed to a group of modifiers. Now, this group is very similar to this group that Boba in Chapter 3 hired, in which I have been kind of critical of him quickly hiring that group. But does this moment of this group of modifiers healing or reviving, saving Fennec, does it make that quick hire of a similar group in Chapter 3 seem more justified? What do you think, DJ?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it makes sense. Boba had taken Fennec to people who could repair her. Literally, I'm not even going to say like it is a repair. It's literally mending together something. And so since, basically took them, and I just as a sidebar, I love that these modifiers, they gave me tattoo shop vibes. I thought that was really neat. It's kind of some people, look at tattoos and think it's kind of taboo. And to me, I saw this as like, this is a very taboo thing for Star Wars. So I thought it was neat that they kind of played on that in the punk rock feel. All that stuff was great to me, but it actually makes Chapter 3 a whole lot better because you get to understand, that's why Boba hired these people, because he already had a modifier working for him. So it makes sense to me. And I think it definitely helps. It does justify it. And it makes, like I said, it makes Chapter 3, that much better for sure.
Yeah, and I'm kind of on board now as far as him quickly hiring them as well. Like it did kind of, I have to admit, it did kind of bother me just how quick he did it, just because they were quick to be able to give good comebacks. Like, that was really the only thing that he was kind of basing that off of. But now that we have this history of this, I mean, I guess I'm just going to call them a group. Maybe they know of each other. They share similar kind of interests or cultural kind of things to where Boba understands these people a little bit more, and that's why he made that call. So I'm getting there with that group, and this scene kind of did it. And I did want to mention this. I saw this on Twitter. I have not been able to verify, but I believe the boy that's, if you're on YouTube, it's in the background of this picture that's displayed. I believe that is Ming-Na Wen's son. I read that on Twitter.
Oh, cool.
I have not confirmed that, but if that is the case, absolutely love that, because we've talked about it here on Mando Talk that Star Wars is all about family, and we love those family moments. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't catch that at all. That's awesome.
Yeah, and again, I think that's the truth, but you know how Twitter is. You know how it is.
You never know.
All right, so Fennec then awakens, and the two bond slowly begins. They're kind of on, fireside. They're having discussions. when Boba introduces himself, it's made clear that Boba is believed to be dead across the galaxy, because Fennec's like, you're not Boba because you're dead, something like that. Fennec questions. Oh, this was really interesting to me. Fennec questions if speed bikers really defeated the Tuskens. I think, and we don't want to bleed into prediction mode, we're probably going to come back to that statement if I had to assume. And then Boba asks Fennec to help him recover his fire spray gunship from Jabba's palace to settle her debt to him, and she agrees. I enjoyed this moment. I enjoyed them kind of making that initial bond. One thing, though, that did cross my mind is we know from watching The Bad Batch that Fennec is well aware of the way the clones look, Omega, The Bad Batch. Did she not make that connection, or does that still kind of fit? Any thoughts on that?
I don't think she cares.
Okay.
I think she kind of falls in line with I'm not going to say she falls in line with the Jedi, but I will say she falls in line with that thinking that every clone has a soul. Every clone is different than the other clone. They are their own person, which would be very important to a clone, which Boba is. So with that being the case, I don't think she really particularly cares. There's maybe a chance that we'll get something in Bad Batch season 2 later this year that will explain some of that connection. I don't know. I really don't know, because it looks like this episode's really where Boba and Fennec meet for the first time ever. So I'm not saying she's going to hang out with Boba in Bad Batch, but there's maybe something that happens in Bad Batch where she comes back, and there's a whole thing. So, but I think it's interesting to note for sure. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of see what you thought about that. But what did you think of this overall scene before we move to the next part of the episode?
I thought it was great. Everything about this is great, where she's questioning the bikers. And I think that's going to play into some predictions for next week for sure. So y'all come back Tuesday for our predictions. That way we can really hash those things out as well, because that's one of the best parts, honestly, about getting ready for each episode, is getting to do our predictions. I'm sure that you guys and we all have a lot of different kind of predictions going into next Wednesday for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to get into this next part, because this next part was really what got my blood pumping. Yeah. Being honest.
Well, and before we get there, I do just want to say Miss Sunflower said maybe Fennec will recruit Omega in Bad Batch. Hey, I'm all for that.
That would be nuts.
Continued connection with those characters. So we do then transition to Fennec agrees to help Boba recover his ship to repay the debt of him saving her.
Yeah.
And Fennec uses this really cool mini probe droid that reminded me of Darth Maul in episode 1, but it's just like updated tech. Loved this little thing. I wish I had one.
Yes.
I wish I had one. But it kind of scouts out the palace. And in this moment, Boba sets the Bantha free and expresses his next steps, that he wants to get the armor, he wants to kill the bloated pig who double-crossed him, and take his throne. And there was this really cool quote that I pulled: "I'm tired of working for idiots who are going to get me killed." And for some reason, I immediately thought of, too, though, like, Boba's worked for Darth Vader before. Is he throwing shade at our favorite Sith Lord? I think it's more so delivered toward Jabba and Bib Fortuna, but I did think of Darth there for a second. Like, does Boba think that Darth Vader's an idiot? I don't know.
I don't think that never even crossed my mind, but just based on what I know about the Boba Vader relationship, I would imagine that Boba was not talking about Vader. I think that he was chummy with Vader to a certain extent, but only so far as it, got him paid when it was all said and done. Now, I want to say this about this probe droid. When it came back and scanned and had the scan of the palace and everywhere that they needed to go, were you just not a little overwhelmed at the number of the red dots that popped up?
Oh,
because it reminded me of playing like Assassin's Creed. If you get an Assassin's Creed, your little mini map has all those red dots that pop up everywhere if you like get into a fight, because they just keep coming until like you get them all or you run off and are able to hide. That's what that reminded me of for a second. I was like, oh my gosh, there's only 2 of them and this tiny droid and a bantha. What are they going to do? I was just impressed that like the scanner just kept going and kept going kept going. I was like, oh man.
Another kind of video game connection there. I think it's Batman Arkham, like the very first one where you had the ability to kind of see through walls. Kind of reminded me of that.
Yes,
you know, you were able to kind of mentally game plan how he's going to be able to execute the next steps.
Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah. Really cool. I like you said, I love that the probe. The little probe droid. Let's see here. What's next? Boba and Fennec sneak inside the palace and go inside the kitchen. Droids are preparing a meal. The knife welding droid basically turns into General Grievous.
Then
another droid arrives, which I believe this other droid, I don't remember its name, but I've seen it before. I think it's Clone Wars, where it arrives and Boba calls it a quick little bugger that shuts itself off when caught by Boba Fett. This was definitely the comedic moments of the chapter. Not a whole lot of like material there, but what did you think of this moment?
It was nice seeing these droids. These different, first of all, we got the droid that was there similar in the cantina to Mando season 1. In fact, it can't be the same droid because where we're at in the chronologicalness of the show, there have to be 2 different droids. They have to be. Otherwise they painted themselves into a corner. But the knife droid 100% reminded me of Grievous. It was hilarious. The second I saw it, I was like, this is General Grievous. I was even in a Facebook group talking to some guys and people about this. And this one person said, I actually used the gif of Grievous doing the spinny, lightsaber thing. And they're like, this is the first thing I thought of. I was like, me too. And then we kept talking about this droid has posters. He's a fanboy of Grievous. He's got posters on the wall at home. We just created this headcanon about this. And we just created this little headcanon, and it's hilarious when you think about it. But that's why he does it. He just has little hollow videos where he just watches Grievous versus Obi-Wan from Utapau, and it's just he's just like, this is what I was born for.
Yeah.
He's just all in for it.
Yeah, no,
so I loved the droids. And then you mentioned the little bitty rabbit looking one, although when he held it up, it looked more like a turkey, to me. But it really did. It looked like a dead turkey. I don't know what else to say. So it was just funny watching it. Just like, no, I'm out, and he just turns himself off and just, it was just funny. It was really good comedic timing. And Rural Farm Boys letting us know it's an LEP droid or a LEP droid. I'm gonna go with LEP. That sounds more Star Wars. So nice. Thank you for. Rural Farm Boy always giving us the lowdown, always the clutchest of
and
clutch.
What's up, Brock 85? Appreciate you being here.
Hey Brock,
I think I'm seeing that you're a death trooper in your profile pic. I'm digging that.
Yeah,
okay,
that is awesome.
Next up, we get inside the hangar where action goes down before the 2 escape. In particular, a lot of cool little moments with this. I'm trying to look through here to see if I put anything down. But really, I think the biggest things that stuck out to me were the overall shot of seeing the ship there in the hangar was very satisfying to me. I loved the way that was shot. And also, in particular, Fennec's fighting and shooting. Wow. Like, she crushed it. And these, honestly, this might have been the best action moment delivered by this show so far. Like, Ming-Na Wen was committed, and she was laying down the hammer, and I loved everything that she was doing in this moment. What did you think?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just a perfect callback to Mandalorian season 2, which is funny because it foreshadows in a way what we see in Mandalorian season 2. Now we're going to have to come up with the correct order in which to watch Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett.
Oh gosh.
Like we do all of our machete orders and everything we always come up with.
Clone Wars. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to have to figure out a way to watch this now, I think. However, with that being said, that she just killed it. I mean, Fennec just consistently proves how important she is to Boba's upcoming war. The more I see her in this show, the less I begin to believe that she's going to betray Boba, like I've been saying for the last few weeks. And
thank you so much.
I just think I've been wanting it to happen because I think how cool would that be? But and not to get too far ahead, but with the end of the episode and the musical notes we get, it kind of solidifies that's not where this is going to me. So,
well, and I think there's also a conversation that they have too that really makes me feel like that's not an option at this point. And we'll definitely get to that. It's another fireside chat that they have. Yeah. But another thing too that we haven't mentioned in the scene yet was how cool was it to be in the Fett ship again? I mean, it's always fun to see the interior design of Fire Spray.
Well, I got some Attack of the Clones, vibes because when when Jango's fighting Obi-Wan, Boba climbs into the cockpit and literally, he lays down to shoot the guns at Obi-Wan. So as Boba's climbing into the cockpit the whole time, I'm thinking, hey, he's done this before. Like it was just interesting to me to go back and see, this is not the first time Boba has had to climb into the cockpit on screen. It was just nice to kind of remember that. For me, I don't know if anybody else caught that. That was just something that was a nice little nod. Even if it was a nod, it probably wasn't. I just thought it was interesting to see the connections there in that little moment. Yeah, back in the Fire Spray, back in Boba's ship. I mean, yeah, come on. I mean, it's just so cool because there's not many other ships like it.
Right.
The Falcon's very original. The N1 Starfighter is very original. The TIE Fighter is very original, but like Boba's ship, it doesn't really get a whole lot better than it. It's just that, and I still have the toy at home I used to play with when I was a kid. It's very cool. I love that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and we get an incredible moment next in this episode with this ship where when they're escaping, Boba says that he's headed to settle a few scores. We know what those scores are going to be. And Fennec commits to staying with him by saying she'll go for the ride. And the ride that they immediately go on is Boba flies up on the Nikto speeder gang and wipes them all out with fire spray fire. I mean, this was brutal. And I remember in our Tuesday stream, me saying this is going to be your stereotypical view of Boba Fett before seeing the Book of Boba Fett was, he's just this ruthless killer. And I remember saying Tuesday, Boba Fett is gonna be Boba Fett in this moment, and he certainly was. And after he was done,
just when to turn it on.
Yeah, after he was done, he just looks at Fennec, and there's just this little head nod, and they're like, "All right, yeah, you did what you needed to. I won't judge you.
Absolutely.
Let's keep going." I loved.
It's kind of like I played football with guys who were just some of the coolest and nicest guys, and I played baseball with these guys too. And by the time they got to the field and it was go time, pure animals. And that's kind of what Boba is here in this. And when he's in his element, when he's in his element and it's time to just kind of flip that switch and be the ruthless guy that he's had to be in situations, that's what this was to me. And it was I'm still trying to get a hold of a decent image of him shooting down these speeder bike people because I haven't found one online yet that's not like, or taking a pic. I don't want to take a picture of my TV. It just looks bad. So,
right.
I need what I'm saying is I need a new desktop background, and that's the one I want.
So you want the ruthless killing to be your desktop background.
Absolutely.
Burn up.
That's Boba, man.
Yeah. Well, it was great. I mean, I usually don't root for just brutality, but this brutality was pretty cool.
I did.
It was pretty cool.
I like brutality when it's justified.
Sure.
Like when it's justified brutality, that's when it's like, okay, that's fine. You can kill them.
Yeah.
On screen, not in real life. Okay. Don't everybody go nuts. I'm not trying to be that person. I'm saying in a movie, like Daredevil or something, when it's justified, or Batman, that's what I'm looking for here. And that's Boba here. That's some justified murder. But anyway.
All right. So next up in the episode, let's keep going here. Boba and Fennec arrive at the Sarlacc Pit, something that I didn't expect to see. I didn't expect to go back to the Sarlacc Pit at all, but they begin to search for Boba's armor, and I saw the argument online like Boba was conscious to get out of the Sarlacc with his armor on. Why would he go back?
Yeah.
You never know. You know, he might have been, and he was. There is no might have been. He was mentally probably insane in those moments. Like he probably had no clue what was going on. He was just going off of instinct. But I just wanted to say that. So Boba kind of in this moment confirms that, you know, his Beskar steel would survive the Sarlacc. And then they're kind of zooming in there, trying to get in to see if the armor is in fact in there, and the Sarlacc awakens and grabs the ship. It was kind of like, okay, this is obviously going to happen, because why else would he be hovering over this for so long?
Yeah.
Fennec then, and this is the money maker, Fennec drops a seismic charge inside the Sarlacc's mouth, officially killing that Sarlacc that has forever been the, I guess the thorn in Boba's side. Like it's gone.
I was
It's
gonna say
over.
the bane of his existence is what I was gonna say.
Yeah, there you go.
Thorn in the side is still. Well, I gotta be. You mentioned that this was definitely going to be a jump scare, and I knew it was going to be a jump scare, and I'm sitting there like, here it comes. What's it going to happen? Oh gosh, I just it happened. I was like, oh dang it.
What threw me off? What threw me off is I thought the little hole was where he burned through. But then that's where it shot through. So that's why I kind of jumped, because I was like, oh, okay, they're shining the light on where he torched through in chapter 1. But then, nope, that's where the Sarlacc just comes flying at you.
Yeah. And so much of it was just odd, and Rafa makes a good point. And I think I have a decent rebuttal to this point. He said he doesn't even know why he thought the armor was there. I understand what you're thinking, because as the viewer, we saw him climb out with the armor on. But what happens as soon as he climbs out with the armor on? He passes out, and then gets knocked out by a Jawa, which is I'm still not happy about.
Still hilarious. Still awesome. I love it.
It is hilarious. But like I said, I've had, by the way, I've calmed down on my Jawa hate, because there hasn't been a whole lot of Jawa activity and I almost called Boba baby because you said Utini. Got my brain messed up there. But anyway, that's beside the point. So I think that he was just out of it. That's why he thought it was still there, because the next thing he saw was being drug off by Tusken. So he just probably thought, oh, well, that's where it is, and he didn't know. He could have rolled down into the pit. Someone could have thrown it in. Who knows? There's no telling what goes on in the sands of Tatooine.
Yeah.
And then Sup Hayden. No, is it Sup Hayden or Sup Hayden? Anyone else get concerned the seismic charge was going to detonate too early and damage the ship? I mean, yeah, of course. That's part of the what's the action, the stress, the anxiety, all those things. That's part of that. That's just good storytelling at that point.
Here I am, Hayden puts that in the chat, and my mathematical brain, this is what I just thought about doing. Okay, and you're going to call me a nerd, and everybody here is going to call me a nerd.
You're going to go time it.
It's time for us to go back to Attack of the Clones and back to the Mandalorian and back to this moment and see if the seconds match up. Like, we got to see if we should always be able to expect 5 seconds until detonation.
This is about as dumb as me saying, where's the wood on Tatooine? That's the equivalent.
I bet Boba knows the answer, because he's got to be able to calculate that. Boba's got to be able to calculate that in order to jet off before the seismic charge goes off.
Here's a better question. How did Fennec know what that button did? Because she's the one that pushed the button.
That's a good point. Maybe she's been in the ship before. Maybe Boba lost the ship back during the Bad Batch or whatever, and she's been on board. Who knows? I doubt it. That's a stretch. That's a big stretch.
Either way, yes, concerned. And now if you want to go time, okay, I expect you to come back with a timing, because I'm not going to do it.
With the report. I got you. I
want a 2-page double space front and back.
If it's inconsistent, I'm writing a thesis to Lucasfilm on the horrendous disregard for mathematical existence.
Calculations. Okay, C-3PO, never tell me the odds. Let's just move on from this, because you're going to add your zipper complaints
this
next.
This is going down a Sarlacc Pit hole right here.
That's what... Next.
Yeah, let's move on. It was a great moment. And yeah, people in the chat are saying that the sound is the best. You got to love that seismic charge sound. 100%. Anyway, Where are we at? Where are we at?
I don't know. Somewhere in the Sarlacc Pit. Let me see. All right. Boba goes into the Sarlacc Pit for confirmation. The armor's not there, which is great because Fennec pulls him out by a rope. That's always fun. And then he just continues to voice his frustrations with his past jobs and hires, and questioning how many lives could have been saved if people just stopped to talk and think. I thought that was really cool. And I'm going to go ahead and read this quote here that we've got in our notes. Then I'll toss it back to Caleb. It says, "I'm tired of our kind," I think he means bounty hunters, "dying because of the idiocracy of others. We're smarter than them. It's time we take our shot," which I'm just like, absolutely. You tired of working for people? Go for it. It's kind of like when you hear about people who were working for some rinky dink, boss or business. And they're like, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm going to start Google, stuff like that. That's kind of what it reminded me of. What about you, Caleb?
Well, it just gave me, it gave me more just justification on why Boba's doing the things that he's doing. I have seen kind of the argument of people online saying, like, why is Boba even worried about Tatooine at this point in his life? I just think he's to the point where he wants to be in control, and he sees an opportunity here on Mos Espa to be in control. He wants to become the daimyo of Mos Espa, and he wants Fennec there, and this is the official kind of extension where he offers Fennec to be his right-hand brains and muscle. And this is the point where we kind of discussed this earlier, where I believe that this moment puts a nail in the coffin as far as Boba and Fennec are not going to split up, where he offers loyalty and that he will cut her in on the success and pledge his life to protect hers. We know when Boba says that, he means it, and I certainly do not expect Boba to go back from that. I mean, I feel like we know Fennec enough to where she's not going to back out of that, so I'm glad that they kind of made that commitment. What are your thoughts on that and your big theory that you've had brewing, in my opinion, seeming like it's gone, but what do you think?
It probably is gone. This ridiculous theory I came up with in the beginning of the series that she would peel off and start Kanja Club as seen in Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Purely based on the fact that two people had the same last name. I mean, that was it. Not only that, though, that was always going to be a pipe dream, but the fact that, they are going to probably seem to be in a solid relationship here for quite a while. I got to be honest with you. It was the closest thing to a wedding ceremony I've seen in Star Wars since Attack of the Clones. I mean, it's not very often you hear somebody say, I pledge my life to protect you or work with you, whatever you want to say, and it not be romantic. So it's kind of neat to see that this is not a romantic situation yet. I don't think it's going to go that way, but it's just nice to be like, okay, you can, it's just kind of showing you can be dedicated to another person without having to show all the pomp and frill of a romance, especially in something that is so easy as basically the story of a bounty hunter, and I know he's not a bounty hunter anymore, but you guys catch my drift. So I think that the situation overall is great. I don't think they're splitting up now. Okay. Watch them totally just subvert that and go back to my original thoughts, next week. Hopefully not, because I'm really digging what they've got going on here. And I now just recant all theories of betrayal, even though they were and Timothy Livingston says friendship can exist. I know, it's nuts. It's insane that friendship can exist. And then also, I don't want to go over. First of all, we had someone else join the chat named Spicy Watermelon.
What up,
I don't
Spicy?
know what kind of watermelon. I don't know what kind of watermelon you were eating, but I don't want any of it. But then Rafa also says, I love the new philosophy of Boba. He's closing a part of his life, and now he wants to start a new one, taking his destiny in his own hands. If you think about it, he's never had this opportunity. That's very good insight, Rafa. If you go back even into Clone Wars, wow, that's got me kind of doing a deep dive now. So anyway, and Rafa's like, wait a minute, Fennec and Boba are just friends? The people on Pinterest and Twitter would have you believe otherwise, but I'll leave it at, for now, they are friends until otherwise stated.
Sure. Okay. We are then kind of to this moment where they commit to each other. That's where the flashback kind of concludes, and we get these moments. We see the scene of Boba Fett killing Bib Fortuna, and the flashback plot line seemingly comes to a conclusion, although I feel like there are some thoughts on that we could dive into as it is caught up with present day. I feel like that moment, though, is portraying that flashback that we have been focused on has been wrapped up. Boba has met up with Fennec.
Yes.
The only thing really that is left to question is how Boba finds his armor, but honestly, I'm okay with not getting that specific answer. I mean, if he was able to see the flashes of the battle going on between Mando and Fennec, I'm assuming he'd be able to hear the fights between Mando, Cobb Vanth, and the Tuskens with the Crate Dragon. So, I mean, I don't really need to see that happen.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of wrapped up
either.
if they decide not to show that. So it seems like, because as soon as we go to present day, the droid confirms and informs Boba that he has been completely healed. So it seems like flashbacks are over, and I would have to say that at least flashback to tanks are over. But I'm still thinking about how heavily they've teased this young Boba on Camino thing. Like, I'm still thinking about that a little bit. I don't know, and again, I don't want to get too far into predictions. I would just say be careful, audience and listeners and viewers, to assume that we're done with any kind of flashback, because Fennec, as soon as he gets out of that tank, says his internal scars aren't healed or something like that. And we know there could be some internal scars there with his relationship with his father that they keep teasing with the Camino moment. So just some thoughts on that. DJ, anything you want to say before we get to the present day plot line?
Ooh, I want to, but it's such a big prediction that I want to wait.
Okay.
And, you know, I know in 2 weeks I won't be on the show because that baby has to be born next week. The doctor said so. Okay. So I tell you, just as a heads up, I told Caleb maybe Tuesday I'll be here, Thursday probably not, but just a heads up for all of our regulars. But at the same time, I don't want to go too far ahead. So, you know, I'll hold on to that, even though I've already, if you want to know what I think about might happen in chapter 6, which is in 2 weeks, I've mentioned it already on previous, you know, streams. So go back and check out a couple of our previous streams to hear my thoughts on chapter 6. I'll leave it at that. All
right. Well, and if you're not here, needless to say, guys, we will still get his predictions and thoughts. He'll probably just text them to me or something. Like, you'll still hear from DJ throughout this process. Okay, the present day stuff. So Fennec informs that the Major Domo is held prisoner and is sharing information, but there is still no sign of the mayor. And Boba decides to visit Garcia Flip's sanctuary, where Black Chrysanthemum attacks Trandoshans, which love this moment, because those of you that don't know, Clone Wars, we dive into the fact that Trandoshans hunt Wookiees. So obviously there would be hatred from Black Chrysanthemum to these Trandoshans, as those Trandoshans are thriving. So that's kind of why his hatred gets brewing there, and he's probably been indulging in quite a few beverages as well. So that probably enticed him to attack those guys a little bit too. And Garza, I got to mention this too, because as he attacks the Trandoshans, Garza is very sketch to me in these moments, where she's trying to discuss and talk Chrysanthemum out of killing these Trandoshans. And by the way, she was not successful at all, because he just completely rips the arm off, which is a complete connection to Han saying that Chewie rips off arms, you know, back in the original trilogy. So loved that moment.
Well,
what did you think?
Well, just with Chrysanthemum, first of all, you know, it was one arm fell off in a cantina. A New Hope right there. You know, an arm was chopped off. And that was another callback. It was a double callback, I thought, in that moment. You know, I'm loving Clone Wars connections, even Battlefront 2 connections, because Han actually yells at Bosk, you know, in the heroes versus villain stuff, you're like, oh, you still hunting Wookiees? And then Bosk says something back to him. The only thing I'm having a hard time getting on board with Chrysanthemum being here is it's such a small thing, but on Boba's armor in episodes 5 and 6, he has braided Wookiee fur hanging off of his armor. So does Chrysanthemum just not know that Boba has Wookiee fur hanging off of his armor? I mean, it's a small thing. It's not a big deal, because I can see how the Trandoshans are known for hunting Wookiees. So I can see why Chrysanthemum would be like whatever about Boba and, take all his anger on the Trandoshans. But all that, was fantastic. Yes, Garcia Flip is sus. Big time. She is, throwing it back to last year, with that one. But, she's very much trying to get something happening here with Garcia. Not with Garcia, with Chrysanthemum. It doesn't work. And Boba, I love that little nod Boba gives. He's just like, well, it was worth the shot. She just kind of shrugs it off and moves on. It's like, oh, you can't help everybody kind of deal.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fun.
Yeah. And I thought this entire moment was very fun. I do have to say this, and this might be me being too analytical and diving too deep into this. I feel like Garcia's wardrobe upgrade to be very flashy is storytelling in a sense. Like, she is thriving. She seems to be thriving the most out of anybody in this show so far. There's got to be something behind the scenes that is not good going on with her.
It could be. I'm coming up with this on the spot right now. It could be a callback to The Last Jedi and Canto Bite and DJ and Finn's conversation, where he's like, look, these are the people who make and sell the weapons for you to fight your war. It kind of seems like this is a smaller version of that, potentially, where Garcia Flip, is just profiting off of a war that is about to happen. I'm not saying she's an arms dealer or anything like that. It's just she clearly has the refuge, the sanctuary of her own cantina for people to run to. So, it could be something like that, but it's really hard to know what they're doing here. Also, though, her wardrobe could just simply be a callback to the fact that she was in that movie Flashdance back in the 80s.
I've seen that online too. Yeah.
So that's what I took it as, that, or it's a Princess Leia reference, because she is wearing all white and it's a very Star Wars looking, the way the wardrobe falls off of her and really, it's a very beautiful outfit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's something. It could be anything. It could be a callback to any number of things. But for me, if we're going to go purely story, yes, I think that there is something to be said about she could potentially be profiting somewhere with whatever she's got going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. Well, and before we move away from this, I do have to say just one more time, because I don't remember if you said it or not, DJ, but the fact that Boba does officially recruit Black Chrysanthemum, phenomenal. We're going to get what we wanted with that. They are definitely going to work together. The only thing we didn't get was, when I first saw Black Chrysanthemum, I wanted to see Boba suited up in armor versus Black Chrysanthemum. We didn't get that, but I'm more excited about the team up than anything.
Well, I saw somewhere online that Boba and Fennec are going to be recruiting their own kind of Magnificent Seven Samurai type of thing, which we know from the Disney Gallery episodes of Mandalorian that Favreau loves Seven Samurai and loves Magnificent Seven, which are both incredible movies. I encourage everybody to see Seven Samurai, one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. And I've seen the newer Magnificent Seven, and not the original, but it's the same vibe. So I'm thinking there's going to be a major team up here. So if they're going to go full blown Magnificent Seven, right now we've got Fennec, Chrysanthemum, Boba being the leader, potentially Danny Trejo's the Rancor Wrangler, which now Star Wars has released Rancor Wrangler socks. If anybody wants to buy Rancor Wrangler socks, they're out there. With Danny Trejo's face on the shin. Come on, awesome. But anyway, there's still remaining 3, and can I go ahead and say what's teased at the end to kind of go pair with this Magnificent Seven? Well, if you've been here this long, you definitely know that the Mandalorian music was playing at the end of this episode. So if you put Mando in there, that's one more person to add to that Magnificent Seven type team up.
Sure.
And I see that Spicy Watermelon's down here saying it's the Star Wars Avengers. It kind of is, in a way.
For sure.
And so I like that connection. But, there's going to be a really cool team up here. And it all started with really the recruiting of Black Chrysanthemum, I think, in this moment before we can really move on to the Crime Lord dinner.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you're definitely on to something for sure. Now this
It wouldn't be the first time.
crime lord dinner that was heavily marketed. Heavily marketed. We finally get it. Of all the crime lords of Mos Espa dining in the throne room, Boba requests that the families join in a defensive alliance until the Pike Syndicate is vanquished, which the group disagrees with. So Boba asks for their neutrality while he handles the Pikes himself, and they agree. Now, before, we have to, we keep moving. During this moment, though, the Rancor puts them all in their place. Like they were very much freely going against what Boba was saying. Like they weren't necessarily intimidated. But then when that Rancor, made some noise and made its appearance known, that shook them, and you could visually see that shook them, and that led to them agreeing to keep that neutrality. Now, will they keep that neutrality? We'll see. I have my doubts just based on who they are.
Well,
But what did you think of the finally getting this crime lord dining sequence?
I was glad we got it. It was very reminiscent of Godfather Part 1 and Part 2. Just there's some good stuff in there. And I know that they were pulling from Godfather to kind of do this show anyway. But with that being said, the fact that the Rancor jumped and latched on to that grate where they were all sitting, and Boba and Fennec were like, just like we planned it. They were just sitting back, just letting it happen.
Yeah.
And it really did show everybody, I will feed you to the Rancor if you cross me. And power move, man, power move. And I think, Boba's definitely willing to work together, but only so far as he can. And I think a very important thing to remember here is that there is no honor amongst thieves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we may end up with these crime lords joining forces with the Pikes. I don't think so, because I think Boba is ready to wreck shop, but at the same time, there's just no telling right now. I will say it's nice to finally get this scene because it's been heavily marketed, as you said. So I'm glad we're at this point now, and it really just pushes the envelope that much further. I know on Tuesday, Caleb, you said something about how you were concerned that people were going to only be talking about Moon Knight, as the Book of Boba Fett premiered. And as soon as, everything happened with Boba Fett and then the Mandalorian music starts playing at the end, I think that all summed up. And I was like, okay, nobody's talking about Moon Knight anymore. We're back on Star Wars sides of things. So, and I think the internet has proven that has been the case for sure. So it's great that that's what's going on.
Absolutely. Now, before we leave this scene, we had some things here in the chat that I wanted to say or mention. Miss Sunflower said Pikes will recruit Bosk and Cad Bane. Wouldn't that be something? Because, that'd be something. There's the villains making their alliances and making their Avengers team up. That would lead to quite a showdown. And then Miss Sunflower again said, what if Boba makes a house full of bounty hunters? I love it.
It's like a fraternity at that point. They're just all there like, how many kills did you get last week? I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
They just kind of brush it off or something. It'd be insane.
All right. Well,
I don't think it's going to be Cad Bane, though. I don't think it's going to be Cad Bane. Well, I'll get into a chapter 6 prediction really quick then for the sake of what I've been thinking.
Sure.
But here's the deal. I've been thinking that Cad Bane will show up in Dave Filoni's written episode because it has been confirmed that he's writing chapter 6. And I think that's where we're going to get Cad Bane to show up. I think it's going to be in a flashback, and I think it's going to be a younger Boba played by Daniel Logan. So that's what I'm hoping for in chapter 6. And so I don't think it'll be Cad Bane, but who knows? If it is if Dave Filoni wants to bring in Cad Bane and just wipe the slate clean of what they had planned for Clone Wars season 6 or 7, and it never got to that point, that's fine. But I would still prefer to see that thing kind of make it into live action. So that's what I wanted to say on that little piece there, but that was about it.
All right. Okay. Well, our final moments here of this episode, and then we'll kind of turn back to the chat and see what's going on before we kind of wrap up the show. Boba and Fennec watch the families leave from atop the palace and question if they can be trusted, something that we here have kind of done ourselves. Boba says they must prepare for war. Fennec says credits can buy muscle if you know where to look, and that is where we then get the Mandalorian
Badu,
music.
badu, badu, badu.
And as soon as I heard this,
Badu, badu.
guys, I just started. You know that it's the famous meme or whatever of Steve Carell and in The Office. It's happening.
Yes.
It's Yeah, that's how I felt.
Everybody stay calm. Stay calm.
100% that was me. And 100% Din Djarin is showing up. Now, this kind of made me go, I'm about to just do speculation moment. Just
Go.
Heavy speculation
Go.
moment.
Do it.
Something that I have said way back in this show. Way back, like first when Mando Talk started with this first season of The Mandalorian. Whenever young Din Djarin was picked up, I remember specifically saying that planet that he is on gives me Naboo vibes. And there's this new report, there's this new rumor that Din Djarin could potentially be piloting an N1 Naboo fighter. I don't know. Maybe that's a thing. Maybe that's what could happen. We'll see. Who knows?
What in the
Who
world?
knows?
Hold on. I got to stop. Hold on.
Sure.
I mean, that is such a big thing. The words that just came out of your face, I don't even know how to, I don't know how to comprehend what you just said. Cause first of all, I did not hear that particular episode of Mando Talk
Way
back in
back.
the day.
Way back.
I mean, so excuse me for just a second as I try to find The Mandalorian season 1 real quick on Disney Plus, because I'm over here like, where would that have even been?
Whenever
thrown out there?
young Din Djarin is picked up by the death.
No, I
Death
know
Watch.
what you're talking.
Yeah.
I know what you're referring to.
Uh-huh.
I'm just kind of freaked out at the moment because I just suddenly realized that could be a possibility, and I'm scrubbing along the freaking timeline of chapter 7 real quick to see if that I can even find something there. I am blown away by what you just said.
I can't remember
exactly
which chapter those moments were, but I've been itching to say
find
that.
it later.
I've been itching to say that because there is that report that's out there of an N1 Naboo fighter showing up, and now we just saw chapter 4 of the Book of Boba Fett, and we know Din Djarin is coming back. So let's just pause on the speculation and what does this moment mean to you, though, of Din Djarin coming back to the Book of Boba Fett?
Well, okay, rumors aside, I could talk about those for another hour for sure. But rumors aside, so him coming back, it means what they've been saying all along, that this is Mandalorian season 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They've been saying this. It has been a known fact. And I say they being Lucasfilm, Favreau, Rodriguez, probably even Kathleen Kennedy at this point has said that. I have no idea. I can't remember every report I've read, but in this case, it's a big deal that they are going to start setting up something
Mm-hmm.
that we're not going to see for probably a whole year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let that sink in for just a second. We're not going to see Mando until probably December.
At the earliest. Yeah.
At the earliest, that's just that's based on timing and what they've got coming down the pipeline for this year on Disney Plus, because they want to space it out. They want to keep people guessing. So whatever's going on with Mando in Book of Boba Fett is about to blow our minds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to lead somewhere really incredible. So for me, it's confirmation of what they've been saying, because up until yesterday, not one time did I ever think this was Mando 2.5.
Yeah.
Not one time. And I'm glad that this is now saying this. Ryan V is upset about bringing up something about Mandalorian not coming, I think, until the end of the year in our chat, but it is what it is. And we don't have a choice but to deal with it in this case.
Sure.
So to answer your question, Caleb, it means a lot. Mandalorian did what Star Wars needed at the time, was unite the fandom.
Mm-hmm.
And given that the little bit of divisiveness that have been here with Book of Boba Fett, it was nice to get that badu 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 and go move. I couldn't believe it. Personally, I was sitting on the couch. My couch is right here next to me. I'm sitting on the couch and I was like, "What's going on?" I was like, "There's no way."
Mm-hmm.
And of course it's 6:30 in the morning. My wife's not awake yet, so I'm just like,
Yeah.
texting Caleb like he's at work, and I'm like, I'm still sitting on the couch in my jammies trying to figure out what the heck's going on. And Caleb's like, me too, but I'm at work. It was so much. So anyway, I'm floored by this. Absolutely floored by this. I can't wait to see what they do and what notes of Mando 2 and Mando 3 we're going to get as we see him show up, because he's coming. He's coming.
And I'm excited. There is part of me that's like slightly bummed that in Boba Fett's show it had to bring Din Djarin in for me to get extremely ecstatic. Like, I feel like somebody could view that as a negative, as far as like, oh, Din Djarin has to get you pumped up for the Book of Boba Fett. Like, I see that, but I don't care though. Like, this partnership that these two characters developed in season 2 of The Mandalorian, is so captivating to me, and I can't wait to just see the conversations that we have between these two. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I could see Boba being like, "Where's the kid?" And Din be like, "I gave him to a Jedi." And he'd be like, "What Jedi?" And then that's when Luke shows up in an X-wing, and Mando's like, "Oh, don't worry, you can talk to him in a second." And then Boba and Luke have another fight, and
yeah, sure.
Luke goes in the Sarlacc Pit. I'm just kidding.
But Luke brings Han with him, and then we get that shootout between Boba and I'm just kidding. That is a joke. That's not happening, folks. That's not happening.
I don't think so.
Anyway, it's great to have Din Djarin coming back for these final 3 chapters that we have remaining. I cannot wait to see what we've got left. DJ, to wrap this up just real quickly, is there anything in that chat that we need to address potentially, or anything else that you want to kind of sound off on?
Well, we've got some Kenobi talk saying it's the most anticipated show of the year. That's a no-brainer. That one's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The N1 Starfighter Naboo fighter talk is kind of happening. Yeah, Miss Sunflower says it's like an old leak, but hey, it's a leak nonetheless, and maybe we'll see that go down. Din piloting it. Look, if that happens, you're not going to hear me upset over it. I'm a child of the prequels, so watch that yellow Starfighter come in. Great for me. Perfect for me. I don't mind one bit. But other than that, I'm not really seeing anything too specific. But as far as my final thoughts go, they say the cinematographer even said chapter 5, 6, and 7 are the real deal. So that was from Miss Sunflower as well. And we also don't forget Dave Filoni wrote these one of these episodes coming up, chapter 6, confirmed for sure. So we're going to get some really, really cool notes for sure.
Yeah.
Personally, I just want to really quickly give overall thoughts for this episode.
Absolutely.
I love this episode. It's in the number 2 spot for me for this season. I tweeted that out the other day. If you want to go see those tweets, you can go to my Twitter account, and which is below. It's sometimes below. It's not below right now, but sometimes it's below my.
It's below right now.
Box here.
It's there.
It is okay. Yeah. See, because I don't get to see the live feed that Caleb gets. It's a little a little after the fact. It's okay. Anyway, my name's below. If you want to go check out my order of my favorites thus far. But other than that, no. I look forward to next Wednesday, because it's going to be exciting stuff, and God willing, I'll be able to hold my child while I watch Din Djarin come back. I mean, it'll be a big moment for me.
What a way!
It'll be a big moment for me, because Star Wars is just always revolving around my head, always. So it'll be cool. Hopefully that's what happens. I don't know. Probably not. That baby is stubborn. I'm telling you. So that's it. I love chapter 4 so much, and I'm I hope to see this director again. I really, really enjoyed this directorial style.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed it.
And I'll just say too that for me, I think this is my favorite chapter so far. Only because of the connections that we're getting to a show that I've just fallen in love with The Mandalorian. So all good things from me, and I know that there are so many rumors, potential possibilities that we could see in the Book of Boba Fett now with just that little Mandalorian musical cue. And I tell you what, folks, we will discuss that in more detail on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time during our Chapter 5 predictions. I promise you, we are definitely going to talk about those rumors. There's all kind of rumors surrounding the show. We'll maybe even talk about, how Mando really does fit into this, because it's a question mark right now, because we haven't seen it unfold, and I can't wait to see it unfold. And I hope that you guys, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel or whatever platform you are listening to, I hope that you will subscribe to us and continue to have fun with us as we go through the Book of Boba Fett and as we kind of cover all great things with Star Wars. All right, and special thank you to all of our live viewers. The chat, this is like 4 or 5 times in a row now that the chat has been hype. Like, the chat is, it's awesome. And just share it with friends, have them come in here, and that way we can just continue to grow, and we can continue to have more fun, and we can continue to get your guys' thoughts on the show. Because, again, in my opinion, I like your guys' thoughts more than I like my thoughts. So keep them coming. Make plans to be here every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m.
Caleb's thoughts suck.
Yeah, I know, man. They stink. They absolutely stink. All right, let's get out of here. DJ, we'll see you when we see you, but I hope all things go well, and, I'll continue to be praying for you and for your family.
Thank you.
Let's show some love
Thank
for
you
DJ
very
in the
much.
chat. Show some love for DJ in the chat, for him and his family, especially his wife.
Y'all are going to make me cry. That's why the helmet's on.
Yeah. All right. Let's get out of here. We hope that you have a blessed weekend. We hope that you rewatch Chapter 4 numerous times as we get ready for Chapter 5 of the Book of Boba Fett. And until next time, as always, we have spoken.